In the quiet moments before the world wakes up, there's a place where pain meets peace, where every breath feels like a prayer and grief stands still. We carry the weight of what was and search for meaning in the smallest things. And sometimes all it takes is one moment to remind us we're still here, still healing.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Nedge. I'm the host of this podcast. And yes, we are your number one podcast to bring you stories around death, dying, and grief. All the messiness that comes in between with some amazing people out here doing some amazing things, changing people's lives one heartbeat at a time. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop an episode. And most importantly, if you know anyone who can benefit from the conversation that we have, do me a favor, share this along with them, and we're gonna keep doing this for you. Now, before I bring up my guest, I have to say one more thing. This is for educational purposes only. And without further ado, guys, help me welcome my next guest, Mr. Chad, to the show. Chad, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited to be able to talk to you today, man. And we had a great time talking the last time. We had a really amazing time talking. So before we get started, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
So my name is Chad Harrigan. For the past decade, I have been a life and leadership coach. I call myself a life consultant, really, because coaching is just a tool. It's not like who I am. Right. But I help people with people stuff in the most simple way I can say it. Relationships, trauma, communication, people connecting with themselves, chasing after the stuff they want, how to have emotional intelligence, and a lot of the deep stuff like grief and loss and dealing with struggling marriages and relationships and finding their identity. And it's mostly in the corporate world, oddly enough.
Really?
All I've done is corporate coaching for these full 10 years, except for in my private practice. And all they want to talk about is the personal stuff.
Really?
Because it shows up at work and at home. I don't believe in anything as a work-life, home life. I think that's a load of crap. And as much as we try to compartmentalize and force our brains to do that, it bleeds over because you take you everywhere you go with you.
Okay.
Okay. So I've been able to help thousands of people. I've had probably, around 14,000 sessions in the past 10 years.
Wow, man.
That's the number. It's around that.
That's impressive.
And I love it.
Oh, it shows. It definitely shows, man, and you're still going. That's the amazing part about it. You had said something, though, something that I think most people don't really grasp the concept of, which is emotional intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being a male myself, I found that there was stages to getting to where I was at, right? There was the emotional awareness, then there was the regulation of the emotions, and then came the emotional intelligence that I was able to develop through that process. Now, I may be a little bit off in how the process went, but just a basic concept of my understanding. And so helping people understand or develop emotional intelligence. What is the biggest challenge when it comes to that? Because I don't think people really grasp it.
For people that don't grasp it, it's just a lack of honesty with yourself. You know, it comes down some to nurturing, but mostly comes down to choice.
Okay.
You know, nurture has a lot. Nurture and nature have a lot to do with it, but choice wins out every time.
Okay.
And choices may be hard because it's easy to do what comes naturally. What comes naturally may not be the right thing for you. And so you have to choose who you're going to be, how you're going to respond, how you're going to treat people.
Okay.
That gets in the way so much of the time. Now, yes, we have outliers. You may be autistic and neurodivergent. You may have ADHD. You may have a host of other things going on with you.
Right.
And those things are real. And that's a different bag all into itself. But I have ADHD. And so naturally for me, there's certain things that just happen that if you don't have an understanding of me may come off like I don't have emotional intelligence. Like one common thing for many people with ADHD, I may not know that I'm hungry until I'm starving. Because it's not fully mental, it's also physiological.
Okay.
So by the time I know that I'm hungry and I'm starving, I'm really starving. And so my MO most of my life would be if I first get the idea that I'm hungry, I wouldn't realize how hungry I am myself. And it took me time to learn this. But I would warn people like, hey, I need to eat. Now, because I'm not loud, I'm not forceful about that, people be like, oh, okay, you're just kind of hungry. We got time. And then that would turn into anger. I said, I need to eat. I don't know what you don't understand about I need to eat. I told you, I said it nice. Now you playing in my face.
I can dig it. I can dig it.
That's for a lot of ADHD people. We don't know we're hungry till we're starving. And so the outburst may seem like we have low emotional intelligence, but it's that physiological part that plays into that. For normal people who don't deal with that type of thing and whose brains work differently than ours, there are things that they can help. And so for me, people like me, we have to work and choose and think about how we respond to stuff. And so we can do it, you can do it. And for a lot of people, they may get offended. It's too simplistic. There's so much else that goes into it.
Right.
At the end of the day, after doing this for as long as I have, the emotional intelligence you engage in comes down to what you choose.
That makes sense. It's one of the things that I'm glad that you brought that up because it really brought things into perspective from what I understand as well. The choices that we make, there's consequences to any choice that you make. You get to choose whether or not if you want the bad ones or the good ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Such as life, right? And I think part of that is the knowledge of understanding right and wrong and the wisdom to understand to do differently, right? And expect the consequences to come from either choice that you make. So I love that. If I got the concept down.
So here's a caveat to that. After hearing this, some people will say, well, what if they need help with it? It's natural. What if they can't help it? Mm-hmm. You can choose to get help. You can choose to work with the coach like me. Hey, even if you don't believe there's some things that people say about you about the way you respond, the way you talk, your reactions. And you don't fully see it, but everybody says it.
Mhm.
You can still choose, hey, coach, therapist, everybody says this. I don't feel like it's an issue, but what do they see that I'm not seeing?
Right.
Because I think I'm fine. I like how I am, but it gets in the way.
Right.
It's kind of messing stuff up, and I don't like that it's messing stuff up. So what am I missing? You know, for me, this was a very interesting thing because I'm West Indian, and I'm married, and my wife's family, they're from LA. They're passive aggressive. My family is aggressive. And so we're loud, we're in your face, we're very direct, and not understanding us and how we are, which is normal for us, and me not understanding you, you're going to have a ton of misfires in communication and conception about each other. There's no way that doesn't happen. But none of it matters if you don't know yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because that's something that I'm learning as well, talking with different people. But I think that's the beautiful part about wanting to explore different cultures, right? How we may respond or react to certain things, things like that. It helps to not just understand, but to communicate,
Right.
right, effectively, right? And so there's a lot of blessing in that. I wish more people took the time to venture outside of the things that they know in order to learn different things,
Yeah.
right? Because we're all on this rock together. We really are. And you're going to run across people of different cultures, ethnicity groups, all day, every day. And if you haven't, you will, right? Take the time to get to know one another. Beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now, I want to backtrack. How did you get into this work, Chad?
I
listening.
I got into this because I had a therapist and a coach who suggested that I look into coaching because I had a series of events after a big upset in my life, big tragedy, where people started, and a lot of these were people who didn't know my name. When they met me or when they were sitting next to me, they would just start spilling all their secrets, talking about all the darkest stuff that's going on with them. And the common conversation would be, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. I don't even know your name. That would be the phrase. And it happened so much that I would talk about it because it was just like consistent. And by consistent, I mean, my wife and I were traveling around the country for 6 months. We were in a different city every weekend. And everywhere I went, that would happen. People we knew who I was cool with, but it's not like we're tight. They would do it. And because of the tragedy we went through as a family, it just made people feel safe enough to talk about their stuff. And that made my coach and therapist each say, you should check out this. And I found a master's program at UT Dallas in leadership and executive coaching. And all the teachers were psychologists. All of them had been psychologists for 20 to 30 years. and it turned out to be a coaching psychology degree, which was, for me, perfect. It was perfect. I had a lady, I think we were at a bus stop. Yeah, we were at a bus stop, and this lady sits next to me. She's distraught. Ask her if she's okay. She just starts talking about how she just found out from her doctor that she had cancer. She goes on into it. She cries. She talks about it, all her feelings. And then she says, I don't even know why I'm telling you. I haven't even told my husband yet. And it was just the wildest thing. But when I found coaching, immediately I knew. And I knew so much that it was the thing for me. Before this, I'd been a lot of things. I've been a chef. Been a musician. I'm a musician now, but I was doing it professionally. And when I got in this program, about 6 weeks, about 2-3 months into it, I went to visit a friend, and he asked me what music I'd been making lately. And I had to think about it. And not only had I not made music, I hadn't been thinking about music. I don't even think I'd listened to any music for that time. And if you know me, there's always music going on in my house and in my car and in my headphones. And all I could think about was coaching.
That's when you know you've tapped into that thing.
Yeah.
Right? You've tapped into that gift inside of you, man.
Yeah.
And I love it I love the fact that you said that, because as you were saying that, I started thinking to myself and reflecting, like, I remember the day when I knew I wanted to be a grief coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I didn't know off the back, I didn't know I was going to be working with men. I really didn't. Right. It wasn't until maybe about a couple of weeks later where I knew that this thing called grief had a hold of me, and it wasn't going to let me go. Right. And it just kept giving me information. I was just like, I want more.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I went to go try to find support and realized there was nothing out here for men.
Yeah.
And so after going through a couple of the men's groups and things like that, I realized the importance of having something like that. And that's where that light bulb went off. And I was like, I can't let it go.
Yeah.
Can't let it go, right? And it's like a little tugboat. You ever remember the little nursery rhyme, the little engine that could choo-choo?
Yeah, you keep going. You keep going.
Yeah, you got to keep going, man. It's like the little tugboat, man. That thing get a hold of you. It's like, no, you got to keep going, right?
Yes.
And so that's a beautiful thing. Like, seeing the way that you lit up when I knew it right then, and I was like, that's when you made that distinction, and this is what I'm going to do, right? Because nothing else really matters. Like, and you put something on the side that you've been doing your whole entire life, which is music, professionally, might add, and you put that off to the side in order to go explore this other thing.
Yeah,
man, that is a hard decision that most people. I don't think most people have the courage to even take the steps in the right direction, because how do you put something that you love doing for something that it's a feeling, but you're not. It's an uncertainty that comes along with it.
It's a bit more than that, though. Mm-hmm. So I'll explain it this way. I've been making music since I was in the 6th grade. I wanted to be a professional musician, star, singer, whatever, all my life. I've been writing songs since then. For a time, I was a rapper. I had my first record deal with that.
What?
And anything with music, I was doing it. And then as I got older, because I come from a family of cooks, everybody cooks. I got a job in the restaurant industry, and I was taught how to cook. I've done everything in a restaurant, and I loved that so much. I would work 80 hours a week, no problem. I did it for 12. I traveled around the country helping open restaurants, training people. It just fueled me. There was something about it. The thing about both of those is you're making things. You're creative. You're creating something every time. And it's more than it just feels good. There's like something that pulls you toward it. You know, my wife, she's a doctor. She loves that. And that's her thing. She didn't really understand this, how I could be up early in the morning, not come home till 3. And the only place I've been is the restaurant, in the kitchen or on the floor, behind the bar. When I found coaching was like that.
Dig that.
You get me?
Yeah, I could dig that. Because I'm the same. I can feel the same. Well, I do feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
Because doing grief work, I can do grief work 24 hours a day and not get tired.
Yeah.
I have done it, right? Over the weekends, like when if you give me half the chance, I will sit here and do everything pertaining to this, writing programs, articles, trying to figure out what's next, the next podcast. How can I have conversations with people, conferences, webinar?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not careful, I'll be up for 3 days straight, 4 days straight, right? And it goes back to something. And this is like, you're a huge inspiration, because when you said this, I definitely felt it in my heart. It was something, who said it? It was Eric Thomas. It was Eric Thomas that was talking about Beyonce. He said Beyonce had went into the booth to work on her album. And when they turned around, 3 days had went by and she realized that she hadn't eaten. Because she's so focused.
I've been there.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what you're saying right there. I'm like, if I'm not careful, look, I'm 3-4 days in and I'll be still sitting up here like, what's next, right? Just knocking everything down.
Yeah.
Not even realize that I hadn't drank anything or eaten anything because I'm so focused. And it's something else that Eric Thomas said. He was describing a conversation with someone, and they asked him, when do you get tired? He goes, I never get tired. He goes, because I'm constantly in the zone of what I need to do. He goes, well, what are you going to do tomorrow? He goes, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to give it 200%. What you going to do? I'm going to give it 220. And he just kept going and on. And talking with you, it's like, I could definitely see that.
It is.
See that. I'm still going to give it 250. I don't know.
It puts you in a mode where, because your brain seems to awaken in a sense.
Right, yeah.
It is flooded with ideas. The challenge then becomes, what are the great ideas? What are the good ideas, great ideas? And then what are the God ideas? Because they're not all the same.
That's true.
And you have to have the discernment and the willingness to cut, let go, reshape. So at my church, I help run a songwriting. We do 4 songwriting workshops. And one of the things that we say to everybody that comes is, do not bring your song babies. And what that means is they've been working on songs at home and they're in love with these songs. And if you try to work on that with a group of people, who didn't start that idea with you, when they get involved, that song may get to chopping that thing up. And because you're married to that idea, feelings get hurt, issues come. But if you have the wisdom and discernment to look for what needs to be cut to make it better, to make it clearer, to make it more direct, to make it more powerful, and you take that type of approach to everything that you're excited to create, then you have stuff. Because it's about quantity, not quality.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it's about quantity, not quality.
Right.
Now, why did I say it's that and not quantity, quality over quantity?
Because it's quality is, as you mentioned before, it's a God idea. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I picked up on that. I did pick up on that. Now you can go out there, you can create 1,000 different things. I've done this before too. Right? I think we all have as we begin to develop our gift into the world and manifest ourselves within that parameter. Because when you create quantity, you're just putting ideas out there and seeing what sticks. When you can practice discernment, you not only have it to where you know that it's going to stick, but you also know the trajectory that it's going to go in, right? True. As you begin to develop the steps for it, right? Because everything, when it comes down to a God thing, and I could be wrong when I say this, and let me know, when it comes down to a God thing, you have strategy behind it, right? You have thought and effort put into it, which is going to help get the momentum. But also you have a strong sense of faith because it gives you a different vision of what it looks like as it begins to go. Correct? Okay. All right. But that's just what I put together. And again, just by listening to you and doing these things myself, right? Especially in the grief field. Like I've done this, man. I've created 1,000 different things, but also I think there's another side to it, and I could be wrong, but let me know what you think about this because I've done things in the past that didn't work at the moment, and I've had to put them in. I've had to put them in a corner into a dark little box until the right moment came. I was able to go back in and grab them and put them back out there and tell them. Right. So right idea, wrong time.
Yeah.
So nothing, and nothing was ever wasted.
Exactly.
But again, this is just the things that I've seen and put together. What are your thoughts about that?
So let me start by going back to the phrase quantity over quality. Here's why. They've done studies where they'll take 60 students, cut them in half, and say in 90 days to one group, I want you to paint as many paintings as you can. To the other group, I only want you to paint as many masterpieces as you can. At the end of 90 days, which group do you think had the most masterpieces?
The one who created the most.
Exactly. And it's because repetition breeds mastery.
I love
that. Because you're getting reps in. You're strengthening that muscle. You're forcing your mind to be
on one thing.
Yeah.
You're not just focused on the one thing. You're going through and you put several ideas out there at the same time. And once in that concept, you can always go back and add things to it. I like that.
You're practicing skill set. You're mastering that. It's evolving and changing as you go. You're building the creative muscle in your brain to try a ton of new things. A lot of my understanding an approach to my coaching and a lot of these things. Just it came from my life experiences. I was able to coach people through grief because I've been through it. I was able to coach people to fulfill their dreams because I've done it. I've been able to coach people on how to be better therapists and coaches because I've done it. But none of that, and this is a phrase I hate to say, but it's true. I wouldn't be here where I am now if it weren't for the grief I experienced.
Yeah.
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 It's a shame that's the trade-off, isn't it?
It really is. It really is, because when, especially if you're a dad, you know, so my wife and I, we got pregnant after a year of trying unsuccessfully. And we ended up doing a 60-day juice fast, and because the doctors found a mass in my wife's uterus and they were going to do surgery and take it out. And she had 60 days until that time. Somebody sent us a video called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. We did the 60-day juice fast. And she went to the doctor because we weren't getting pregnant. She wanted to find out why. Well, here was why. When she goes back to check up right before the surgery, the mass is gone. And it's from all the nutrients we're doing through the juice fast, because it's just fresh fruits and vegetables. We got pregnant 3 months later, and it was the most exciting moment for us because we never wanted kids. But the reason I knew she was the one for real was because I knew I could have kids with her and I would be happy about it. And we had our son. He was 10 pounds, 5 ounces. He was a grown man. She was in labor for 54 hours. And we ended up moving to a small town called Sonora, Texas, because my wife got an amazing job there. Tiny place. 2 stoplights, 2,000 people. The 3 of us were the Black community in that town. And it was the most peaceful place we ever lived. And I was a stay-at-home dad. And I was so grateful for that time because when we were in Dallas, we were both just all around. I had a business to run. She ran a clinic, and we were just popping back and forth. We wouldn't have had that time with our son had we stayed in the city. We get down there. We're in a place where you can see the stars. You could wake up to a flock of deer in your yard. We're able to just be in nature and just nothing but time with my kid. And it was the best. Having a kid redefined me. It redefined my identity. And losing a kid did that all over again in the worst way. You know? We ended up in family therapy. Our pastor at the church we were at the time, he's a chaplain. He's trained to counsel people who are grieving. One of my oldest friends from high school is also a chaplain. He's trained in that. He did our family therapy, and that got us through for a little while. And I ended up having a nervous breakdown that first year. I didn't sleep for more than an hour a day. I got stuck on playing this video game because we had left Texas, went to Alabama. My parents lived there in Madison. And I was playing this video game called Infamous, and the hero could heal people. That was his superpower. And my messed up, jacked up mind thought if I healed enough people in the game, I could heal my son and bring him back. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was just in the room doing that. And then my wife told me, she gave me this advice her cousin had given her. You get a time limit to grief. You can lay in the bed, you can cry every day. But after a certain time, you get up, wash your cheeks, brush your teeth, you go out and talk to people and let them love you. Let them love on you. Eat some food. Get outside. Because you cannot die in that place. Because it will kill you if you let it. My grandmother died of a broken heart. It will kill you if you let it. And it doesn't have to happen quickly. But what that experience did, I mean, we went through so much. We almost got divorced. In that season, statistics are, 80% of couples don't last losing a child. Excuse me. But luckily, my wife had gotten into one-on-one therapy. And then 3 months later, after a lot of back and forth, I got into therapy. And as a dad, that was a struggle. I don't trust people like that. I don't trust them quickly. But I'm so glad I did that. Because this is still during the time I'm not sleeping more than an hour or two every day. Okay? Now we're at 2 years after. And I remember after the third session, I'm sitting on the couch with the therapist. We have our session. And somehow she breaks me. She got me. And I bawled like I've never bawled. In agony. I did that at the funeral, but I was like, nope, I got to cinch it up. But I cried like I haven't cried ever in my life. And I go home and I slept for 14 hours straight. And that started my journey into getting therapy and starting to work on myself. And that's how I got into coaching. And the crazy part is it took 8 years for me to finally turn the page on blaming myself for not being a medical doctor and knowing everything that's going on with my son, on not being able to magically heal him and save him. 8 years it took me. I'm a coach this whole time.
Right.
I'm helping so many other people, just not me. And I remember the reason I was able to, that pushed me to do that I was able to do that. I was telling my therapist how I was having a hard time remembering anything but the hospital. Seeing my kid seeing CJ on that table, begging for me to pick him up, begging for me to take him home. And I was helpless to do anything. And once I turned that page, I started remembering all the good stuff. This is 8 years of feeling guilt when I laughed or smiled, had fun, felt joy, because I was disrespecting the memory of my son if I was ever happy again, if I ever felt joy again. And once I allowed myself that breath of air to finally breathe, I remembered all the fun stuff we did. I remembered all the times we would play hide and seek, and he would hide in the closet in his bedroom, and he'd call me to hide in the closet with him and say, "Daddy, I hiding." And we'd both just stand in the closet waiting for nobody to find us. And he's so excited. He's holding my hand, and he's like, and he just loved it. You know, we had this wall. The house was weird. It was cool, but it was weird. It had 2 living rooms. I don't know why. But we had this wall separating the living room from the kitchen and the den. And all we would do is just chase each other around it. He'd chase me. I'd chase him. He could do that for hours and then just pass out. I was able to remember that stuff, grab hold to that. And yeah, I'll still have dreams periodically about the hospital or his face. But then I also have dreams that I'm holding him. I can actually feel his body. You know, we did the handprint. You know, you have the baby and they push it in the clay. And my wife made a wallet that has that. So I can just feel his hand anytime I want to. You know. And you need to give that to yourself. You need that. I traded 2 years of nothing but bliss and joy with my son. For 8 years, all I could think of was 2 days of pain and grief because I felt obligated to. Giving myself that breath of fresh air changed everything. It made me a better coach. It allowed me to help people in a greater way. Because I was the pain coach. If I could get them to cry, I got them. I didn't have no solutions for you. And it took me a while to really get good. And eventually I did, but they weren't as good as after I turned that page. Once I did that, I mean, you just got to do it. And as a father, when they tell you be strong for your wife and the kids, who's going to be strong for you? You have to find that. Get in a group, start a group, get into therapy, get community around you, let people love on you. Don't stuff it in. And Tim Ross, my old pastor, says this: what doesn't come up and out of your mouth through words comes up and out of your body through action. The statistics, people turn into alcoholics, a high percentage after losing a son, a child. People try to commit suicide. I tried twice. Because I was stuffing that in. And I told myself I was obligated to be miserable forever. And that is what disrespects the memory of the person you love. Because you treat the life and moments of joy as if all you had was a life of pain and misery. So you have to turn that page if you're going to honor their memory in the right way and live the life they would have wanted you to live. You get me?
I do. There's a lot of things that you had said right there that really touched home because, because we've talked about this before, and we've gone through very, very similar experiences with loss and having to navigate this and dealing with the pain in a way to where most people wouldn't even understand if they didn't pay attention to it, with the anger, the isolation, things like that. And there was one thing that you had said that I never had the opportunity was community, right?
Yeah.
Because people left me.
Yeah.
They literally left me, and I had to navigate it on my own. Now, I do recommend it for people to try to navigate it on your own. Like I couldn't afford therapy because I was, I just couldn't. I was just times were just not right.
Yeah.
And so, I spent a lot of time in isolation. My therapy was working out weights. I had my own weights at home, and I never had to come out the house. And for me, it was the best thing that could happen, right?
Okay.
And the reason why I say this, Chad, is because everybody's different.
Yeah.
Right? Being alone forced me to sit with myself. It forced me to tame the anger that was inside of me without outside influence.
Yeah.
Right? Because had people had been around me when I was going through that, the anger would have been directed towards them. So now I have to literally look at myself and hold myself accountable.
Yes.
Every time I beat myself up. Because no one's going to beat you up like you.
No.
Right? And I had to take it. All the nights that I sat curled up in the corner, of the bed, crying. Those nights where, I sat in, I would stand in my living room and just look around. Like, oh man, it's just me. It's pitch black though, right?
Yeah.
Not sleeping or anything like that. Getting up every day, going to work. I had a routine. But it was in the isolation, though, man. It was in the isolation where I found my peace. Right? Where I found something to hold on to.
Yeah.
But it also was the same place I lost myself too.
Yeah.
Right? And I lost myself in order to find myself. And what I mean by that, I'm sure you understand this. When I lost myself, it was a series of destructive choices that I had made.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that they were destructive at the time until it was already too late. By that time, I had no place. I had nothing. I had lost my company, right? I lost my personal training company, right? Here I am homeless again. Next thing I know, I was going, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I cannot do this life anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like you said, it was the blame. It was me saying, I should have did better.
Yeah.
The woulda, coulda, shoulda. I should have been paying attention. I should have acted a lot sooner. I should have been more of a father. I should have protected him a lot more. Right. Maybe if I would have loved him a lot more, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Maybe if I would have got back with his narcissistic mother and just dealt with the craziness, maybe we could have had a decent family. Right. I would beat myself up so much. Then finally, the words came out one day where I looked myself in the mirror and I said, I hate you. I wish you was dead. You're no good, Tony. Look at your life, man. And you had said those things, and I was like, man, and it hurt because it don't hurt, but it really brought back that memory of saying, have grace for yourself.
Yes.
Learn to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Be patient.
Right?
Yes. And during this course of understanding and learning, the one thing I did learn through patience and grace was forgiving myself for thinking that I knew better.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you enter into these new realms, this is something that you don't know. So how do you expect yourself to know?
Mm.
Right? You have to learn this,
Yes, you do.
right? You have to. And I know there's a lot of people out there right now that's probably listening to exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you were just saying and going, I was right there, right?
Yeah.
But you're the prime example. You're a huge inspiration and, an example that is possible to do something good with it, to find your purpose, align yourself within it, to take everything that you've gone through and be able to be of service to other people. And I find that to be very admirable, to
I
even be in
appreciate
the presence of that. You know what I'm saying? Because
it. Yeah,
that teaches me or even shows me that it is possible.
it
There
is.
are people. There's good. Thank you for that. Oh my God, man, that's deep right there. That's really really deep. So I guess my next question would be, man, I know you got things to do today. And,
You're good.
I,
You're good.
okay, all right. Um, what's next for you, man?
Uh, well, my wife wrote a book about her side of this experience, Cloudy with a Chance of Showers. And her name is Dr. Alexia Harrigan. Get it on Amazon. And I wrote the foreword to it. So we're going to be speaking, helping other people deal with this. I'm going to be helping dads. And we also have our coaching company that we've just created, and it's called Tantu Life Consulting. Tantu is a Hindi word that talks about the connection between tissue and muscles and people. And one thing that we've experienced is there's a connection between everything. For example, I felt angry like you did. I gave God all the 4-letter words I could find and think of. I created some if I couldn't think of anything. And when I
That's
got
so true.
exhausted, when I got exhausted, God said, "You done now? You feel better? You got it out your system? It's all right. I know how you feel. I lost my son too. Come on, let's start moving." And that connected into how I'm able to help people, help them find their own way to heal, connect them with God or whatever they believe in, but help connect them with the choice to choose life and healing. My wife helps people with resilience, whatever grief or anything they're dealing with, because it doesn't just have to be the death of a loved one. It could be the death of a dream or a job, the death of a marriage, anything. And we help people get the language, learn how to communicate differently through that, learn how to think differently, you know? So I don't teach people what to think, I teach them how to think. And they're able to think more clearly and more strategically for themselves. They did what you did. They didn't just take accountability, they dealt with themselves and who they are and all of their mess. And we help people do that and walk through that. Corporately, we help teams walk through that, because no matter what work you're doing, you're a company full of people dealing with other people. That's it. And companies that don't function well are companies that don't people well. And all of this is connected to who we are individually and understanding our identities, understanding our purpose, our passions. They're not the same thing. I hate to break it to people. Your passion is your passion. Your purpose is your calling. And they're not always related.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. But we'll be doing a lot of speaking and workshops, putting out books and courses, and eventually doing wellness and leadership events where people can actually come and attend and not just hear people talking at them with information, but actually talk with people, learn things that they can take home and be active with in real life that same day. My job and our job has always been to teach people how to coach themselves so that they can make it through anything life throws at them.
I got a question though. I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had mentioned something, and I think this is an interesting concept where you said, your purpose and your passion are two different things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I totally agree with that. But my question would be, when you line yourself up with your purpose, right, and you know exactly what you're supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know why you now figured out why you're here on this earth.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to align the things that you have been passionate about? Like, and the reason why I ask this, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
my purpose is grief. It's educating people about grief.
Mm-hmm.
It's helping people navigate, especially helping men but educating women on how to hold space with men and this, that, another. Now, it's the things that come along with that I've always been passionate about my whole entire life, which is art, right?
Okay.
Being able to be creative, like even with the podcast, some of the things that you see me do is just things that I sit around and I just have fun with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything aligns with everything else. So my question would be, is it possible to align your passion in with your purpose to increase the opportunities that your purpose can give you and create into the world?
I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
Here's why. Your purpose is the calling, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And your purpose doesn't care whether you like it or not.
This is true.
Okay?
This is true.
Your passions and skills, the things that are easy for you that are hard for other people, the things that are second nature to you that people struggle to even think of, they flavor. If your purpose was a dish, your passions flavor it in a way that is specific to you. And so your art may be used in conjunction with your purpose, and art is your passion. Art ain't your purpose. So yeah, it may align, but it's really you use it to push your purpose. Or it may be something you just keep to yourself that is private and only yours. This may be just for Tony. This may be for others. So, and I that particular aspect of it makes me think of this point. Every coach and therapist, every person that serves has heard of the analogy of pouring from an empty cup. Okay? And when your cup is empty, you can't pour. And the problem with that analogy is because we approach serving in the wrong way. We approach pouring into others in an inaccurate and ineffective way. You have to imagine yourself like the glass at the top of a champagne tower. The kind that you pour the champagne in and it goes down to fill all the others along the way. What's in the cup is for you. What overflows out of the cup is for everybody else. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're drained from pouring, you're pouring wrong. And it's because you haven't set the right boundaries. It's because you don't fully understand your purpose. And because you're forcing it to fit into a box it wasn't meant to fit into. Your passions may align and play a part, and they definitely play a part in the way your purpose shows up in the world.
Right.
But they may not be your purpose. If they are perfectly aligned with your purpose, that's just a blessing.
Okay.
That is just a blessing. But it is not a guarantee.
That makes sense.
And when you're you find people that are trying to force their passion to be their purpose, unless they have other certain skill sets, they tend to live lives that are unfulfilling and full of desperation. And it seems like things just aren't working. I love this. I'm great at this. This is so much fun for me. Why isn't this working out? It might not be your purpose. It may just be a passion.
Right.
And a lot of times, if you haven't been fulfilling your passion, for your purpose first, your passion may not blossom and come into the fruition that you hope it does. Because you were created for a purpose. And so your purpose always comes first.
Right. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And you know, those things that constantly go through my head all the time, you know, because I often test myself to see, you know, and I still do it after 6 years. It's just something that I don't get tired of. I love every bit about it. Every time it grows, I grow along with it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm becoming. I tell people at this stage in my life right now, I've already put 6 years in, right? Of just beating on it, on the craft, just understanding it and putting more out into the world. Like I'm constantly feeding it, I'm constantly developing it and things like that. And now it's getting to a point now. I mean, it's been breaking out. People know all about it now, you know. And it's getting to a point now to where I'm becoming one with it. Right? Before I was walking beside it. Now it's like it's time for us to merge so we can become what we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Right. And it's the stages that you go through. Right. It's the evolution. I call this the evolution of Tony. This is the thing. This is the evolution of Tony as I manifest myself into, as I continue to manifest myself into the world on just a larger platform. Right. So like you said, the guest speaking, the traveling around, the education, the more the podcast, more of everything, just in abundance to where I'm receiving abundance now. Not just giving it away, because I was told in the beginning you have to get it away until you get it down.
You don't.
Right? You know? Well, that's what I was saying.
People will say it works at certain times. Some people, I think the best time to give it away is when you need to build a network.
Yes.
In the beginning. Or you need to build that skill, and that, like, you know, speaking may be something, if you're not amazing at it yet, you may need to do for free and just get your reps in. Right.
Yes.
But if you're already skilled at it or decent, you don't even have to be an amazing speaker to make a lot of money at that.
Right.
You just have to tell people your price is the price. You set the value for the problem you solve. They don't get to set it.
Right.
You know, but most people don't know that. And most people that have an amazing skill set that is wrapped in their purpose, they are just doing what they're doing. Most of them don't actually know the level of impact they create, the level of impact they have on other people. And so they don't see themselves like the people that they watch. You know, a lot of coaches struggle with that. You know, what if the only people that want to hear me are the people that coach with me? What if I can't grow and get new customers? I don't have this and I don't have that. And a lot of times it's because there's a lack of understanding of things like consumer psychology, how to run an actual business, how to do marketing, you know, how to use the skill set you've built. Walking in your purpose grows you as a person. It grows skill sets you didn't know you had. It makes you more confident in who you are. It helps you discover your identity in a concrete way. It just compounds what you do when you're walking in that freely and you're allowing it to be freely flowing. Did that help?
That did. You know, because I was listening to as you were saying that, you know, I can relate to it on such a deeper level. I think sometimes it just helps to hear other people put it in there. It's because sometimes you can get wrapped up into your own head, right? And sometimes you don't want to get it out there because people may look at you like you're crazy. So to hear somebody say it, it's just like, I get that. I understand that.
I'm gonna tell you a piece of advice that I heard. Let's just use the example of posting on social media. People are going to say you suck. It's going to suck. People are going to say you suck. Do it anyway. Because your execution of your purpose in the way that is unique to you is not about them. It's about your obedience to what your purpose is and what you're created for.
Ooh, wait, that's strong.
God can have you do something that everybody hates, and you would still be obedient in doing what you're supposed to do. Their opinions about it don't matter.
Not at all.
You do what you're supposed to do. And it'll impact the people, help the people, serve the people it's supposed to. And you'll understand your true audience, who these things are truly for. There's a ton of people that talk about grief. You focusing on understanding yourself, knowing yourself, and how you help people with grief is going to be the thing that differentiates you. There are going to be people that will only listen to Tony Lynch. There are people that only I can reach. There are people that will not hear a word I say because they don't relate to me. They relate to you or Bob or Jimmy or Katie. You know, and you just have to let that be. The people that are for you are for you.
It's funny that you had said that because I was pondering on that. And because I'm constantly searching for knowledge to better myself, right? To put in my arsenal of wisdom. So I can be a better human being and be the best individual I can into the world, right?
Yes.
And so early on, I developed this sense of individuality. But it took a long time because I had to get rid of formed habits. People I had been around that I picked up things from. So I had to go back to the scratch surface, right? I had to go back to the days when I was a little kid around grandma, right? And grandma was teaching us the morals and the respect and things like that, right? You know, so I had to go back then. And there's a lot of things that I realized that I didn't know myself. Then I had to go back in and I had to go, I don't like this. And I compared it to the things that I had learned throughout the time. I said, I don't like this. Get rid of that. I definitely don't like this. This is not even mine. and I got rid of all of those different things.
Yeah.
And what I found was this bare minimum surface that hadn't even been scratched. It had just been covered over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was so blinding that once I got done, I was like, whoa, is that what you look like underneath all of that? Right. It's like when you shave your beard after 20 years, right?
Yes.
And you finally get the hair off your head after 20 years, and you look at the person in the mirror like, is that what?
Has my beard been saving me this whole time?
Right, and that's what it was, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I shared all of these different things, and once I became the person that you see today, I did the same thing that you said. I said it doesn't really matter what people think about me.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with me. And it was even proven when I started on this path that people thought I was crazy. What you mean, Tony? You're gonna do this, man? You ain't gonna be able to do this. You're gonna work with men in grief. Are you crazy? Men don't talk. Man, you're gonna fail. You're gonna man, you're gonna be successful, Tony, just not at this. That's what I kept getting told. And people go, I don't know why you want to talk about grief. But I just look at them.
The problem, though.
Right, that was the problem.
That's the problem.
But it was the problem, but also it was the driving point because I knew that regardless of what anybody else thought, I knew that this is what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And nothing was going to stop me.
Yeah.
Right? I stayed the path. And the process, I found out what the process was and I fell in love with it. And I realized that not only did I fall in love with it, but I had submitted to it and I became obedient to what it needed from me to give up in order to become who I am today, and steadily growing, right? So I'm still shedding those different versions of myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what you have done as well. And many other people have walked that path and are walking this path, the understanding that I'm going to have to sacrifice this over here because this has been something that's in order to get this over here.
Exactly.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But I realized that I can't be the survivor over here if I want to thrive over here. I have to let loose everything that I think I know in order to get the things that I need to know.
Exactly.
I love that. Oh, man. Damn. Chad, man, you got me going over here, brother. I love it, man. I love it. That's Chad, how can people find you, brother?
Right now, the only place you can find me is Hey Chad Harrigan on Instagram, at Hey Chad Harrigan. Okay. We're building an entirely new website. We're redoing all our branding on our socials. Mm-hmm. So until we launch that, you find me there. You can get my wife's book if you're dealing with grief. And whether you do or not, make a community, find a community, find a therapist or a coach, get some counseling. Give yourself the things you need to be the best you can.
I love that. I got a couple more questions for you.
The
next question would be, Chad, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
That is a hard one. I would want the strength of the Hulk in my body. Because you could say flying, and flying's cool, but you may not be able to fly away from everything. But the Hulk can jump high enough so it's like he flies. And the Hulk is strong enough to tackle most anything. Ooh. So then I would actually do the strength of Thanos in my body instead. because Thanos whooped up the Hulk in the Thor movie.
Yeah.
I would
He
still
said,
be a
hold
good.
on.
I would still be a good guy.
He said, hold on, I may have to get Thanos.
I thought about it as I was talking, and I also like want to be the most powerful.
Yeah.
You know,
I can dig it.
and I want people not to see it coming. You don't want people. You want to be underestimated. Always.
I got one for you, right? Someone that I know that actually beat Thanos. He beat the Hulk. He's considered one of the strongest superheroes, right? But he's so underestimated because he was actually a servant to another person until he changed his mind. I think you know who I'm talking about, the Silver Surfer.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that for a minute. He was the servant to Galactica, right? The world eater, the planet eater. And he was the one who broke away from him, actually destroyed him because Galactica was one who destroyed Thanos' planet. He almost destroyed the Earth and everybody along with it, and no one could beat him.
Yeah.
But the Silver Surfer was the one who turned everything around. After the Fantastic Four, remember they teamed up. Fantastic Four teamed up with the X-Men. They teamed up with the Avengers, and they still couldn't do nothing with the Silver Surfer.
Okay.
Remember, think about that for a minute.
Okay.
So if you really wanted to do it, because he wasn't big. He wasn't big, but he was strong.
I could take that.
I love that. I had to put that in there. I was like, hold on,
yeah.
Let's think about that. Let's think about the underdog. You know,
I could rock.
Oh man, I can rock with that too. I can definitely rock with that.
Yeah, but I definitely want to be. I'd rather be deadly than look deadly.
There you go. Because you still got to get around. You still got to eat. You know, you still got to do those things. One more question for you, my brother.
Yeah.
If you could leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
Whatever you're going through, give God a space to talk into your life. That's the real thing. You know, I don't care what you believe in. I guarantee that if you give God a real chance, you'll change your mind about everything. It'll change you in the best possible way. That's what I would leave them with.
That's powerful. You're a powerful individual, man. Thank you just for your energy, your presence, man. That's huge. And with that being said, I want to say, Chad, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Have this conversation with you.
Yes.
I'd love to do this again, man. You know, keep me up to date on how I can support you and your wife. You know, tell Alexis I said hi as well.
I will.
Send me the links to the book as well, man. I would love to advertise it in the magazine. You know,
sounds great.
In there for the next 5 months for free for you guys, and whatever else you guys would like to send my way.
Yeah.
And with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Brief Let's Talk About It podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if it's your first time tuning in and you made it all the way through to the end and you enjoy it, head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop the episode. And of course, we do this every day. We stream across all different platforms. We make it easy for you to interact with us, right? Get those questions answered as we're going from amazing people who are out here doing some amazing things, changing people's lives. one heartbeat at a time. You guys know who this is, man. This is Tony Lynch. We're going to wrap this one up. We're going to see you guys in the next one. I love you. And as always, make sure you're making memories with the people that you love, because tomorrow's not promised. Chad, thank you for being my guest. And for everyone else, I'm going to catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.
All right.